If a workout says zone 2, do you know exactly what that should feel like? And if it says zone 5, can you actually hit it without blowing up in the first minute? If you are not 100% sure, this video will save you months of guessing. Hello everyone, my name is Marek Martin Matiska, I'm the product director here at Rouvy. Today I'll explain what training zones are, how to set yours, and how to use them in real life. Training zones are basically intensity levels. They are a way to describe effort in a clear, repeatable way, so you can train with purpose. Some zones build endurance, some improve threshold, and some develop top-of-end fitness. The biggest benefit of training zones is that they turn general advice into something clear and easy to follow. Right, moderately hard sounds good until you try to figure out what that actually means in real life. And moderately hard for 10 minutes feels completely different than moderately hard for 60 minutes. Training zones get rid of the guesswork. They give you a target range, and once you have that, training becomes a lot simpler. Most cycling systems break training into zones, usually zone 1 through zone 7. Broadly speaking, zones 1 to 4 are easier, longer efforts. Zones 5 to 7 are harder efforts, which you can hold only for a short time. When it comes to setting your training zones, there are two main ways to do it, using heart rate or using power in watts. The method you use depends on the equipment that's available to you. The first way, setting your training zones with heart rate, is based on your maximum heart rate or HR max, which is determined by a heart rate monitor. These are fairly cheap and they are easy to wear, simple to use. The downside though is that there is a lag. If you sprint hard for 30 seconds, your heart rate monitor might not reflect that effort until the sprint is over. The second option is to use power output or watts. This is more precise and tells you how hard you are working right now in terms of outdoor riding. The disadvantage is that the power meters are more expensive than heart rate monitor straps, and installation on your bike can be tricky indoors. Though most smart trainers and smart bikes have a power meter built in, so the takeaway is power output is the most accurate way to hit the exact target. But if you only have heart rate, it still works, especially for endurance rides. Just remember that some lag is normal. So, how do you figure out your personal zones? You just need one key number to start. If you are using heart rate zones, the number you need is your HR max, or the maximum heart rate. The simplest way to estimate it is with a short field test using a chest strap. Warm up for 15 minutes, then ride hard for 5 minutes on a hill or a flat road. And at the end, check the highest heart rate you've reached. That number is your HR max estimate. And if you think you've held back, rest and repeat the process. If you are going with power output, you need to know your FTP, or functional threshold power. The easiest way to determine your FTP is with a ramp test, where the effort increases step by step until you can't continue. And this connects back to Rick Stern, because he's actually the coach who developed ramp-based testing for estimating FTP and creating training zones. You can take a ramp test on Rouvy to determine your FTP, and don't worry, your FTP doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good enough to guide your training. You can always retest as you improve. Alright, let's make these zones usable. Here they are in real life terms. Zone 1 is easy. This is your I'm barely working zone, like you could write like this while texting. Not that you should, but you could. This zone is great for recovery rides, warm-ups, cool-downs, and days when you just want to move your legs and feel better. Zone 2 is the famous one. This is your I could do this for hours space. You're breathing steady. You can talk in full sentences and you are not fighting the bike. It might feel almost too easy, but Zone 2 is where you build a huge part of your endurance engine. Zone 3 is where things start to feel like training. This is your I can still talk, but I'm not really in the mood for a long conversation. Zone 3 tricks a lot of people because it feels productive, and it is, but it also builds fatigue fast if you live here all the time. So this is a great zone to use on purpose, but not a great zone to accidentally drift into every single ride. Zone 4 is a hard and focused riding where you have to concentrate. You're working hard, breathing deep, and you're thinking, okay, I can hold this, but I don't really want to. It's usually done in intervals like 6 to 10 minutes at a time, and it's one of the best zones for raising your sustainable power. Zones 5 and 6 are where things get spicy. This is where you boost your VO2 max and do high intensity repeat efforts. 5 is the why is it getting harder zone, and 6 is the close the gap right now zone. You'll be breathing loud, your legs will be burning, and you'll be telling yourself to keep going, minute by minute. Work in zones 5 and 6 is usually short and designed to raise your top-end fitness. These zones are perfect for building your ability to surge, respond, and hold big power when it really counts. Zone 7, this is your all-out, no thoughts, just power sprinting zone. 10 seconds or maybe 20 seconds if you are a hero. It's pure sprint power. At zone 7 intensity, a heart rate monitor won't really help you much. It reacts too slowly, so this is where watts and feel are your best guide. So if you remember one thing, zone 1 is recovery, zone 2 builds endurance, zone 3 is steady but sneaky, zone 4 builds threshold power, zone 5 and 6 build your top end intensity, and zone 7 is pure sprinting power. So once you understand zones, the next step is using them in a way that actually makes sense. And that's where planning your training over time becomes important. There are two main approaches you can use, and both can improve performance. The first is polarized training. That means most of your training, around 80%, is easy endurance riding, and about 20% is high intensity, like zone 4 and above. You basically skip that middle stuff. The second is pyramidal training. This is still mostly endurance, roughly 65%, but you also include a solid chunk of training in zone 3 and 4, and then a smaller amount, about 10% of really high intensity work in zone 5 or higher. Now, which one you should choose? It depends on your goals and where you are in your season. For example, if you're training for endurance event, you might build up VO2 max earlier in your plan and then get to more specific training as you get closer to the event. If you are a road racer, you might start with an endurance block first and then move into a block with lots of endurance and tempo. Then, as race season gets closer, you shift toward high intensity work. The big idea is that you usually start broad, build the foundation, and then get more specific later. That way, the fitness you build early actually supports the harder work you want to do closer to your goal. Before we wrap this up, here are a few mistakes you definitely want to avoid. Mistake number 1. Too much zone 3 training. It feels like you're training hard all the time, but it can lead to fatigue and stalled progress. Mistake number 2 is skipping recovery. You don't get fitter during hard sessions. You get fitter when you recover from them. The third mistake is never updating your zones. As you improve, you want your zones to stay accurate. It's a good idea to retest your FTP every 6 to 12 weeks. So how do you actually use training zones when you are riding indoors? The easiest way is to use a platform that clearly displays what zone you are in during a workout. That way you are not left guessing. In the Rouvy app, as you can set zones using heart rate or FTP, you'll find it in your profile settings under the Zones tab. Once that's done, our workouts guide you with clear targets, but again, be sure to keep your FTP up to date so your zones stay accurate as you make progress. So that's Training Zones, a simple system that helps you train with purpose, recover properly, and make real progress. If this video helped, like and subscribe for more cycling training explainers. See you in the next one, and as we always say at Rouvy, keep going!